What do we need to do to create a North American supply chain? Companies in North America are looking to produce at home. Reshoring or nearshoring, this isn't easy. One of the hardest way to compete is in the IT industry. Hello, I'm Rob Arthurs, your host for today's show. Hello, Eduardo Gozales. You're the president of 258 Consulting. You help companies not only produce but manufacture in Mexico. What are you seeing as obstacles for these companies that are coming to Mexico that you're helping?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the invitation again. And of course, right now we're living in strange times where logistics costs have ballooned to almost 10 times what it used to be. So Mexico has become an option for companies. We are strategically located in North America. Labor costs are more competitive, and lead times are shorter. But the hurdles that we see right now for companies is getting those prices to match their Asian prices. And basically, we're talking raw material costs. That's the biggest issue right now.
So give us some examples of what the price difference may be, say, a silicone chip produced in Mexico, Canada, or United States, or comparative to Asia as well.
Well, silicon chips are very particular because Asia has cornered the market for the manufacture of them. In fact, recently you have seen some announcements of Taiwanese silicone manufacturers setting up operations in the US. You see Intel growing their business. So there is a handful of companies who can manufacture this, and basically they are in Asia. So I think those companies are looking into North America to do strategic operations for the market in the U.S. Yeah.
Interesting. And how would the new free trade agreement with the USMCA, or NAFTA 2.0 as some people call it, help companies relocate to Mexico?
Well, the Renew agreement gives a lot of advantages and a lot of security, especially for intellectual property. I think companies that are a little bit concerned about their patents, they feel more secure in this region.
And what's also interesting is on the supply chain issue and how the proximity of Mexico is to United States, and eliminating a lot of that long timelines coming from Asia. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, companies are waiting for the product 3-4 months, and not only waiting for them, they're paying storage costs. So most of the time, they're paying more for freight than for the cost of the product. The advantage in Mexico is that your product can be with your customer in a couple of weeks.
Eduardo, China does a great job in subsidizing companies and sectors. Is there any incentives or subsidies that companies that are relocating to Mexico can look forward to, from whether it's relocating in a different part of Mexico, or is there any state or provincial incentives to relocate to Mexico?
Well, being part of the USMCA, we are an agreement that we need to be competitive on the global scale. So that means that the government cannot subsidize or do anything that will disrupt the normal free trade between countries.
Great opportunities in Mexico. You just opened my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are going to have a lot of questions, and be happy they watched this, because it was enlightening for me to hear your answers to some of my questions. Eduardo, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, and best of luck in your ventures going forward.
No, thank you, Rob, for the questions. I think they were on point, and I'm happy to be here.
Our next guest is Tony Clement, former member of Parliament of Canada and the co-chair of Reshoring. We interviewed him earlier by Zoom. So, hello, Mr. Tony Clement. You're the standing co-chair of a new nonprofit organization called Reshoring Canada. You wish to promote the benefits of reshoring to Canada, and you're an advocate for the new policies to make it more attractive for companies to come back to Canada. Maybe a lot of Canadian companies, but maybe new from other countries may want to reshore to Canada. Tell us more about that. How do you do that?
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity, Robert. Certainly, Reshoring Canada, you're quite right, is an information and advocacy organization. It is designed to promote what we call more resilient supply chains in Canada. And that means having regard for what I call the three legs of the stool. We've got to have more regard for our national security, our health security, and our job security. Now, Canada is a trading nation. So we're not saying Canada should stop trading. We're not saying that at all. But I think there's some understanding now that because of some very obvious examples, there are impacts on national security, health security, and job security. National security, very obviously, when you're trying to deal with critical minerals, for instance, these rare earth elements that go into everything from fighter jets to electric vehicles. All of a sudden, we're now aware that the People's Republic of China controls about 75% of the supply chain for critical minerals. So if you want to create an electric vehicle industry in Canada, or if you want to ensure that the national security aspects of critical minerals are taken into consideration, you're already behind the eight ball. That's why semiconductors also became a national security issue, because of the concern that China was starting to work its way into monopolizing the next generation of semiconductor chips. And then health security. Well, I just mentioned COVID. People say, well, you can't beat China on price, given the labor costs. Well, first of all, China's labor costs are going up and up and up. So the delta of their advantage is diminishing over time. But secondly, we have something in the corporate sector, as you know, called ESG goals, environment, social governance. And a lot of businesses are adopting ESG goals. They are doing so certainly on the environmental side after COP26, but also social inclusion goals and governance goals as well. And all of a sudden, businesses are now responsible to their shareholders and to their employees for every element of their supply chain. Used to be that no one really cared. Now they do. And so if part of your supply chain is connected to the Uyghur genocide, as an example, that is not going to be acceptable to your shareholders or to your employees. And the environmental goals obviously speak for themselves. People are looking for lower carbon footprint and so on. So when you add all that into supply chain, I think I can make a pretty darn good argument that in many elements of the supply chain in Canada, you can onshore and the cost will be competitive or even better than some of the traditional supply chains that are going all around the world.
So you make a great point about some of the problems going around the world. So whenever I'm on an international trade conference and people, all they're talking about is money, 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 they keep forgetting that there's another buyer there that's dictating a different term, and they want to see that social responsibility element. So that's very cool.
I can tell you things are pretty rocky right now, and it is forcing a rethink by C-suite executives in Canada to their supply chains, definitely. I don't see what we're doing as a nativist thing, like, make Canada great again kind of thing. It's just, look, let's be sensible about our supply chains. We can't go on having these extended supply chains and not worrying about national security or jobs or health security.
No, and I totally agree with you. And I see it as a North American opportunity. I mean, with the rail line running from Guadalajara to Vancouver, and they're saying, forget about a container, you can use a boxcar, and it'll be 9 days from Guadalajara to Vancouver. Holy cows, that's a game changer for sure.
100%.
Tony, I want to thank you so much for being my guest today, and I am just deeply honored.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And please, anyone, just visit us at reshoringcanada.ca. We'd love to have the conversation with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So on behalf of my News Channel show, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Look for us back in January with more exciting news and interviews on business. I'm Rob Harthers, your host.